In this video, I'm going to show you how to create and adjust custom backgrounds in Microsoft PowerPoint, so you can build next level Power BI backgrounds for your next Power BI report. Let's jump in. First, let's talk about where you can go to get some inspiration for your backgrounds. Now, one good resource you can check out is Upwork. Simply create a free account, log in, and then you could start throwing in some search terms such as UI design, data visualization, UX UI web app, UX UI Figma, etc. So in this example here, you can see that I threw in UX UI Figma. I also filtered to top rated plus and top rated. And now I have a list of profiles that I can check out. So we'll just click on this first profile right here. She has experience in web design, Figma, and whatnot. So let's check out our portfolio. Click on the profile, scroll to the very bottom. Then where it says portfolio, you can just click on the images and just check out some of their designs and see if you like any. Another resource you can check out is Fiverr.com. Same type of website where basically you're just throwing in search terms and looking at the top profiles and just checking out some designs for some inspiration. So in this example, I just put dashboard UI UX design. Click on this one right here. Check out some screenshots. And actually this one's pretty clean. They did a good job here. So if we look at this example in particular, if I wanted to take inspiration from this, I'm not going to copy this exactly. Maybe I just want to incorporate the darker navigation pane on the left-hand side, and then on the right-hand side, have that light and bright like we see right here. So if we look at my example here, we have the same similar feel. It's obviously not the same report, but it does have some of the similar elements. But notice the differences as well. And obviously the visualizations I use are completely different. One last site I'm going to talk about is called Dribbble. I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with this site. It's a really good place to go to get inspiration for your dashboard creations. In this example here, I just typed UX UI dashboard. After that, you can simply scroll down and click on any of these designs that you want to check out. So for example, here's one design that I clicked on. We can see it as that same type of overall theme where we have our darker navigation on the left, followed by our lighter canvas on the right-hand side. So I'm going to draw inspiration from this dashboard as well as the Fiverr dashboard, and we're going to create a background in Microsoft PowerPoint with the same overall feel. So I'm using the default settings for Power BI, which is a 16:9 ratio with a 720 height and a 1280 width. And in PowerPoint, what you can do here just to make sure the slides are the same is type the pixel amount in these boxes. You can type 1280px and then click out, and it'll actually convert it to the measurement system that you're on. Do the same for height. We'll do 720px, click out, and then we'll click OK. Now the first thing we're going to do is change the color of the background. So we're going to go to Format Background, Color, More Colors, and we're going to change it to this EDEFF1 hex code, and then click OK. Next thing we're going to do is click Insert, Shape, and I'm going to select this rounded corners rectangle shape. I'm going to draw it, and for now I'm going to adjust the corners by clicking on this yellow circle and dragging it all the way to the left to make them sharp. We're going to turn Shape Outline off, and we're going to make the height and width the same exact size as the background behind it. So for the height, I can type 720px. For the width, I can type 1280px. I can align to the top, align left. Now we're perfectly centered. Now we're going to change the color of this. We go to our inspiration. If I wanted to use this background color right here, I could use my color picker tool, which is called ColorCop. So if you Google ColorCop, you'll find it and you can download it. It's a free mini application. You can drag this tool over here to get the hex code. So if I want to use that hex code now, I can copy it and I can go to Shape Fill, More Fill Colors, and I can paste it in. Now for me personally, this is a little too saturated, so I'm actually going to change the color. We're going to go to Shape Fill, More Fill Colors. I have a color that I've already picked out, hex code of 2D3748. Now we're going to click on the shape, and we're going to decide how much margin we want between this shape and the background behind it. And the key to being able to make really good custom backgrounds, as well as adjust them, is understanding how to create margins and how to adjust them. Once you know how to do that, it's a very simple process. And like I showed you, we can actually type the pixel amount in these height and width boxes as long as we type px after the value. So for example, let's say we want 10 pixels of space, meaning white space around the edges here. So the background will show visibly 10 pixels around. All we need to do is take that 1280 pixel width and subtract 10 from one side and subtract 10 from the other. So it would be 1260 width. So I'm going to type 1260 px. And for the height, we're going to subtract 20 pixels as well. So 720 minus 20 is 700. We'll do 700 px. And then we're going to go to Align, Distribute Horizontally, Distribute Vertically. Click out. So now you can see here that we've created this perfect 10 pixel margin between our shape and the background. And if you want to increase that margin a little more, just simply subtract more pixels. We know that the height was 700 because we subtract 20. So now we will make it 698 pixels. And then the width, we start at 1280. We went to 1260, so we'll do 1258 pixels. And we'll distribute horizontally and vertically again. All right, next thing we're going to do is click on the shape. And on the top left corner, we're going to adjust the corner radius a little bit. Give the corners some roundness. Next, we're going to click Insert, Shape. We're going to select this rectangle top corners around it. You're going to draw it. You're going to go to Shape Outline and click No Outline. You're going to click on the shape behind it and note the width, 13.1 inches. So we're going to make this new shape the same width, 13.1. Then hold Control, select the shape behind it. When you have both shapes selected, you're going to align left, align top, click out, click back on the shape, make it a little smaller here. Then we're going to click on the top right yellow circle. And the goal is to make the top corner of this new shape the same radius as the background shape behind it. Right there looks good. You can always zoom in if you need to look a little closer. We're going to click on the shape, change the color to black, and then we're going to go to Shape Fill, More Fill Colors, and we're going to increase the transparency 20%. Click OK. Now I'm actually going to make the height a little smaller. So let's click on it, go to Shape Format. Right now it's 0.47. We'll make that 0.37. See how that looks. All right, so that looks good. We don't need this too tall because this is only going to be a secondary header. Okay, next we're going to select that larger shape and we're going to copy and paste it, hold Shift and make it smaller. And then we'll just change it to white for now so we can see it. Now this box right here is going to be the canvas. So I don't want this also white because those background boxes are going to be white. So I'm going to go to Shape Fill, More Fill Colors, Custom, and I'm going to go with this FAFAFA hex code. So it's just a very subtle light gray color. So next thing we need to do is decide what our margin should be between this darker box and this lighter box. So I'm going to drag it all the way to the bottom and stop when I see that red horizontal line. And then I'm going to take the right side, expand the width, stop when I see that vertical red dotted line. So let's say we want to create a 25 pixel margin from the bottom and from the right. While we have the shape selected, what you can do is go into the width and type 25 pixels, so 25 px, and just take note of that number. So in my case, it's showing that 25 pixels is 0.26 inches. So I'm going to click back I'm going to take my calculator and go 11.06 minus 0.26. That gives me 10.8. I'm going to type 10.8, click enter. Now we need to do the height. So 6.38 minus 0.26 equals 6.12. There we go. All right, so we have the bottom and the right margins all set. Let's figure out the top margin. Now, if we look at our wireframe sketch here, as messy as it may be, we can see that I planned for the space between that header to be roughly the same size, because all I need to put on there are these two tabs that will switch the views from units sold to gross sales. I'm also going to let the user know what period they're looking at within that same space. So what we can do here is go to Insert, Shape, Rectangle, draw a rectangle, remove the outline. Now let's place that right at the top of our header. Now click on the header and look at the height. It's 0.37. Let's do 0.37 times 2. We get 0.74. So we'll make our shape 0.74. Then we'll click on this light canvas background shape and manually adjust the height to touch the bottom of that shape. So what we just did is create the same space right here that we have in the header above it. Now we can delete that shape. Next, we need to decide how much space we want on the left-hand side navigation. Now you don't want too much space because you want to save as much space as possible for your actual visuals. I'm going to left click and drag. We'll do 11.35. See how that looks. I think that looks really good. We'll have plenty of space to get our buttons in here, along with being able to fit the words and the icons that will represent those button pages. All right, now the last thing we need to do is create our background boxes for our visuals. Now the trick here is having the exact same margins between the boxes and around the edges. Once we have that, it's going to be very easy for us to adjust the sizes of these boxes if we need to, once we try to put our visuals into them. We'll probably have to make adjustments because it is somewhat of a trial and error. So the first step is figuring out how large we want our margins to be. I'm going to go with a 15 pixel margin. So that means between these visual boxes like we see here, we want 15 pixels of white space. Let's go up to Insert, Shape, Rectangle. I'm going to draw a rectangle. You're going to overlap this lighter background box, and then you're going to place the rectangle in the inside of it, remove the outline, and we're going to go to the width and type 15px for pixels. Then we'll go to Insert again, insert a new rectangle, draw it horizontally in the inside of our light background box, remove the outline, and make the height 15 pixels. Let's align that top horizontal margin to the lighter background box by holding Control, selecting both, align top. Now let's go ahead and align that left vertical margin to the lighter background box, and we'll align to the left. Click out. Now let's take that top horizontal margin, copy it, Control-C, Control-V to paste, hold Control to select the lighter background box, and for this one, we're going to align to the bottom. Now let's take that lighter background canvas box, select it, copy, and paste it, hold Shift and manually adjust the size, and let's change the color to white. Then let's go ahead and change the shape outline to this white background 1 darker 15%. So this really light, subtle gray color. Let's manually adjust the width, and we're going to left click and hold and place this in the top left corner. So when you see those red horizontal and vertical dotted lines, letting us know that we're directly in the corner, you're going to let go. And then you're going to manually adjust the height and do the same for the bottom. Now that we've done that, we can delete these temporary margin shapes. So what we've done here is created top, left, right, and bottom margins. Because we've done that, it's going to be extremely easy to create background boxes and adjust the sizes no matter what size you need them. So watch this. Let's copy this shape right here, drag it over here, and just manually adjust the size. Now, when I start to place it over here to the left, notice how in a certain point, PowerPoint is going to let me know if my margin is matching the existing margin. So right here, I can see I have the perfect margin. Now, what if I dragged this all the way over here and adjusted the width? We see the same thing here. At a certain point, PowerPoint's going to let us know when we have the exact same margin. So because of this, watch how quick we can create boxes and adjust the sizes. I'm just going to copy this box, left click and hold. Margin looks good. We'll create another box. Our margin looks good. Margin looks good. We'll put this over here. Make another box. Margins line up there. Margins are good. This one's smaller. Margin is good. Just this one. Maybe we want to make another one here. We will copy this. Margin looks good. Margin looks good. So you can see it's really easy to quickly adjust those sizes of those boxes. All right, so let's delete these boxes that we were playing around with. So we've decided on the size margin we want. Now the next thing we need to do is create our visuals in Power BI before we can start creating the actual sizes of our boxes. Because you don't usually want to size your visuals to your boxes. You instead want to size your boxes to your visuals. So one tip I have for you is having this as your starting point after you've created your margins and duplicating this slide, and then making this one big background box. So we're going to create our visuals inside this box first. So I'm going to go to File, Save As. We'll name this background, and I'm going to save it as a PNG file. When it says which slides do you want to export, select just this one. So you're going to open up your Power BI report, locate that PNG background temp file that you saved, open it, and you're going to load it into the canvas background of your report, and then you're going to change the image size to fit. Next step is to create your visuals. So you can see here, I created my visuals for my report. Also note that I temporarily added visual borders to all of the visuals. So if we click on this column chart, for example, go to Format Your Visual, General, Effects, you can see visual borders on. You're going to want to temporarily do that for all of your visuals. Now the actual margins and the heights and widths do not have to be exactly perfect just yet. You want to get close though and do the best you can to have these proportions the way you want them. What we're going to do is create our background shapes to mirror these proportions as close as we can, with the only difference being margins. And then we're going to load that into Power BI and then make slight adjustments to our visuals so everything is properly aligned and within those perfectly spaced boxes. All right, so we have our visuals created. The next step is to grab our snipping tool, or if you don't have this, simply create a screenshot of your report page. I'm going to click New, and I only want to take a screenshot of the boxes. So you can see I have that screenshot. I'm going to copy it, go back to PowerPoint, and go back to our slide where we created our 15 pixel margin. I'm going to paste it in, and I'm simply going to work my way down row by row. So our first row, we can see we have this card. So I'm going to use the first shape we already created to manually adjust the height to be right around the height of our card. Next, we're going to adjust the width. Right about there looks pretty good. And then our next visual is going to take up the entire side. So all I need to do here is move that down. We'll copy this shape. We're going to left click and manually drag, and when we see that margin, we know we're properly spaced. And then we'll left click and drag to the right, and then stop when we see that red horizontal line So our first row is done. Now we're going to take this picture, go to picture format, crop, crop. We're going to get rid of that row. Now let's work on row number 2. I'm going to copy this first shape, paste it. We know the margin needs to be the same, so the first step is always going to be matching the margin. So we can see right here, we've matched the margin, so we're good. Next thing we need to do is decide on the height. We can see our donut chart is about that size. Let's see what the width is. Looks like our width needs to be a little smaller. All right, that's done. Now these next two are going to be the exact same heights and width. So I'm going to just drag this down here. And we're going to copy this, paste it, match that margin. I'm going to drag it all the way to the right, match that margin. Now we need to get our calculator, and we need to go to shape format and take note of the width. We can see the width is 8.12, and we know 0.16 represents 15 pixels. So if I were to type 15 pixels here, we can see it goes to 0.16. So we need to subtract that one gap. So we're going to go 8.12 minus 0.16 equals 7.96. How many boxes we need? 2. So we'll divide by 2. 3.98. So we're going to make the width 3.98. We're going to copy and paste it. We're going to align this one to the right with the top right box. And then we'll align it to the top with our middle box. Simple as that. We have the exact same boxes all properly aligned. Let's continue to crop this. I'm going to right click and bring it to front. Go to picture format, crop, get rid of that row. And now we'll work on our last row here. Now the last row is going to have these 3 tables, all the exact same size. So we don't even need to use this. We can just delete it. We'll take this box right here, copy and paste it. Let's match our margins right there. And then we'll match our bottom margin. I'm going to manually drag it all the way to the right, match our margin. And we simply now need to divide this into 3 boxes. Well, how many margins are we going to have? 2. So 0.16, 0.16. We need to subtract 0.32 from the width of this box. So let's see what size the width is. It's 11 inches. So we'll take 11 minus 0.32, 10.68. Divide that by 3, 3.56. So we'll go 3.56. Copy it, Control C, Control V, Control V, because we need 3. We'll align this third one to the right. Take the middle one, put it over here. Hold Control to select all 3. Align to the top, distribute horizontally, click out. All right, so we're ready to load this into our Power BI report and see how we did. We're going to go to Format Your Report page, Canvas background, remove the temporary one, go find our new one, click Open, image size to fit, and let's see how we did. You can see here we're pretty close, right? We only have to make very slight tweaks within our report. So for example, we can see here that this middle bar chart is overlapping, so we'd want to make it the same width as the box. The height looks good, but we would want to also mirror the width on the right one. So I'm going to check the width here. You can see it's 381. I'm going to want to make sure this one is 381. And we also want to make sure that it is perfectly centered in that box. Donut chart looks good. So then I'm going to select all 3. We're going to go to Format, Align Top. All right, so the next step would be to select those visuals and simply remove the visual borders that we applied on them. All right, looks good. Next step, we're going to look at our tables here. We can see that the tables are slightly below our background boxes. So I'm just going to select those tables, holding Control, click my up arrows. I'm going to check the height. It says 201. So I need to make sure these other tables are also 201. And then I need to select all 3 and align them to the top. Let's check our top row now. Looks like our bar chart is perfect. And then we'll look at our card. I'm going to go to General Properties. Looks like it's 160. And for our chart, it's 160. That's perfect. We're going to make sure they're both aligned to the top. And I'm going to remove the visual borders from both. And then the last thing I need to do is just simply adjust this light blue background shape because I can see a little white space there. So I'm going to quickly do that right now. Once I have it selected here, I can go to General, Properties, and I can just click on the width here to manually adjust that. And if I have to adjust the vertical, I can do that here as well. And I can also adjust the positioning here if need be. All right, so I really hope you found value in this tutorial on how to create and modify custom backgrounds in PowerPoint. If you did find these tips helpful, please feel free to like the video, subscribe, click the notification button. That way you'll get notified when I come out with more tutorials and videos related to Power BI UX UI design. If you have certain requests, feel free to leave them in the comments. And then lastly, if you're looking for a course on advanced Power BI UX UI design, feel free to check out the description where I have a link to my premium course, 14 Days to Mastering Power BI UX UI Design.